If you can hear me, brother, you're muted still. Hey, there we go.
Okay, we're here. We're gonna. All right, we got you, everybody up here. What do you have to say this morning, Greta? Okay, you have to give her shot of coffee as well.
Yeah, she needs a couple of shots. She's not speaking too loudly or well.
I know. Okay, there we go. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for everybody for joining us here in the studio and outside the studio. We want to remind you to subscribe. We need more subscribers. More, more, more. More is better. And hit the like button so that helps the algorithms of the shows. And we even like to get some of your suggestions for shows. So you can do info at innervisionfm.com. That's info at innervisionfm. Also, listen to our 24 hours, 7 days a week station. You can go to the website and find out the schedule for the shows at innervisionfm.com. And if you want to be a sponsor of any of the shows and come on with a live sponsor interview, or we're even starting to sponsor, get sponsorships for the show on KLZ Radio, which is broadcast on AM and FM, 560 and 100.5 FM radio. We're gonna start helping out with the sponsorship of that show as well, and going there, and then of course our TV show, Channel 56. Hey, we have it now. So we let you know a little bit, because you can't see the topics unless we invited the 300 people to come in on the show, and they can come in anytime. So Ellen, let's give like a little hint of like some of the topics we have for today.
Well, you will own nothing, and you will be happy doing it. You'll want for nothing, and you'll be happy. We'll cover a little bit about that. We'll cover a little bit about the border crisis and our most popular president ever elected in American history, and his handling of the what is now being termed as a border crisis by even the mainstream media.
Yeah.
We'll cover a little bit of other topics as well. Where do you want to start?
You know what? Let's go in the past. Let's go back to the future.
Okay.
Back to, and let's talk about something about the DOJ. This was a guy. What was his name? Brian. Well, he was suing he was suing Comcast because they wouldn't air his shows on it. And Byron Allen, and I remember he was on radio shows, and he kept saying, when President Trump was in office, he said, "Well, President Trump DOJ," and I kept cringing because it wasn't President Trump DOJ, even though he was in office. It was the DOJ from the previous administration that was still there, because when Trump got in, he didn't drain the swamp like he should have. He should have just fired everybody and then put other people in place. And even though it would have been somewhat of a slow start, you would have had people. And then he was getting blocked with the people getting put into the office by the Dems and all that kind of stuff. But back in the day, this group, which is with the Western Conservative Summit, you'll hear more about that if you go to their website or YouTube and bring up the Saturday at 2 o'clock meeting. This group of guys went to. He went to, and good morning, Ashley. Um, a group of guys they went to Obama and said, you know, it would be a good idea so we can stop some of this fraud with the Social Security if we could put a picture on the back of the Social Security.
It's
And
interesting to bring that up, Johnny, because I've often wondered why we don't have a all-inclusive federal ID that acts as our Social Security card and that also acts as our ID. So
mhm,
it's interesting.
yeah,
So from what you're saying is they were going to put a picture of
the person,
the person on the Social Security card.
right? And it would be like 9 cents a card. You know, so you spend 9 cents, boom, get your ID. I mean, get your Social Security card, picture on it. Um, and so they went to Obama and they asked like, "Hey, is this possible?" And then Obama said, "Well, I'm not in charge of that. Go to my DOJ." Right? So they go over
Uh,
to the DOJ and they say, "Well, can we do this?" You know, and they say, "Well, let us ask our consultant." Okay, so they say, "Okay, we'll wait for your answer." And so a few months later, they didn't get an answer. So they went back and said, "Well, we presented this idea about putting the picture on the ID. Uh, what does your consultant say about that?" And the DOJ says, "Well, we asked Al Sharpton, our
so he,
consultant."
I didn't know he had a position within the White House.
I
That's
didn't
interesting.
either. And I wonder how much he was getting paid as a consultant of the Obama White House. And of course, because cheating is the second name of these politicians, and you want to make it easier for people to steal Social Security numbers or Social Security cards and whatever. His answer, being the high and mighty consultant, was hell no, no pictures on the Social Security cards, even though that would cut down a lot of fraud. And it was something I never knew until this group that I heard on the Western Conservative Summit this past Saturday talk about. And so if you want to check out the full story about that, it's on YouTube. And if you can't find it on YouTube because they submerged it or whatever, you can find it on the Western Conservative Summit 2022, Saturday, 2 p.m., uh, where they talk about that.
Yeah,
So
so check for the timestamp for Saturday, June 4th at
mhm,
around about 2 p.m. I guess that's
yeah,
what, Eastern Standard Time, or is that Mountain
well,
Standard?
Mountain Standard Time, Mountain, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I want to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that we should have a picture on our? If you're not going to combine it, like Alan was saying, I mean that sounds like a good idea. Combine the ID with the Social Security number, and then you have the picture all right there. I mean that'll save even more money, right? Um, but 9 cents, would you be willing to pay 9 cents for your Social Security card to have your picture on it? So if it gets lost, if it's so, my daughter just moved back to Colorado. She can't find her Social Security card. She don't know if she left it in Atlanta. She don't know where she left it. But if it had a picture in it and somebody did pick it up, they couldn't just say, "Hey, now I'm Johnny's daughter," because they would have a picture of her. And unless they looked a lot like my daughter and a lot like me, they
An
couldn't
interesting
do.
fact
Huh?
to know about Social Security is when the Social Security numbers were first issued to American citizens, the idea being that the Social Security card itself was not to be used as a form of identification.
Hmm.
Um, Also, back in those days, Social Security numbers were voluntary. I guess you could opt out at some point.
Hmm.
I don't know when exactly that changed to where, um, to where that's different. But even still, there are children being born to families, and they do in some cases opt to have them forego getting a social security number. It does make it somewhat difficult for them when they reach adulthood. But yeah, it's not common, but it does still happen here in these great United States of America.
Yes, and I don't know. Some reason my video stopped. So if you stop seeing me, I don't know what's going on with that. Um, it just sounds like, and it started with in the 30s, where at the time the president said he wanted to make it possible for people to have a safety net, so when they got older, they would take money out of your income to save up for your retirement. So that's how all that got started.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. The social programs designed to help those that are less advantaged than other folks has, in many cases, ended up netting a negative result. In the case of the blind community, we can't even get accurate statistics as to our own unemployment rate. Oftentimes, people say it's somewhere around 66%. Other people say it's as high as 90%. But the bottom line is that particular figure never really moves. It never really goes up and it never really goes down on paper.
Hmm.
But I will tell you, 9 out of 10 of my friends who happen to be blind are absolutely unemployed.
Hmm.
So
Yes,
it's
yes.
interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And so, what do you think, Ashley? I mean,
Ashton,
Ashton. I'm sorry.
I think she might be muted yet.
Wait, let me see. I gotta take. I hope. If I hope. I hope. I hope. Let's see. Oh, okay. She's unmuted. Wow. I hope we're not going one of those things where she could hear us, but we can't hear her. Oh man. Well.
While we're waiting for Ashton and some of her take on this type of stuff, um, let's talk a little bit about some of the other topics.
Okay.
Um, we have the open borders. What this has resulted in is a situation where when these newcomer friends of ours come into our country and take advantage of our generosity and the programs that we have to offer for specifically for those who come into our country, um, when they get a driver's license, they end up registering to vote automatically.
Hmm. That's especially
So
in Colorado. Yeah.
yeah, and so basically, what the fear is that all these newcomer friends of ours that are coming in and haven't quite attained citizenship in our country are still able to have their voices be heard and still be able to cast a vote. Uh,
Hmm.
it
Can
makes it
y'all hear me
difficult.
now?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can hear
we
you
hear.
now.
Good. Okay, that's better. Because I was like, why couldn't they hear me? That was odd. And, and you wanted my opinion on some of these issues. I think when it comes to, because I live in Texas and we hear about the immigrants and stuff coming over all the time. I think it's fine. I don't think people should just be running across running or anything like that. But I think we need to speed up the process to let people, because I'm telling you right now, I don't want to pick grapes. I don't want to do the jobs that these immigrants do. So if they want to come over here and do that, great, because I don't want to. So I have no problem with immigrants coming to this country and seeking jobs. No problem with that. But it's when you start to have crime and other issues like people say, I don't think that's just solely on immigrants that bring crimes to this country.
Well, most of the MS-13 guys are from other countries, and they come here and I guess they love using knives. They like to kill you slowly.
What is
Uh,
MS-13?
it's a gang that's mostly from like these Hispanic countries, Honduras, Mexico,
And they kill people for money,
for
for no
drugs
reason.
for drugs, drug dealing, or just because you know just because it's fun for them. You
Even
know?
if nobody did anything to you, wow,
Oh,
wow, wow.
yeah.
See,
They
that's
must.
the stuff that the government needs to be worried about. That put
Yeah.
that kind of stuff on your radar. Put these types of groups and stuff, like the Proud Boys and all these other groups that sit up here and talk about hurting people and stuff. They should be on a terrorist watch list, any type of game, because that's not cool.
Yeah. So and the power they were mostly going against Antifa and people in the who wanted to come in and just disrupt. By the way, the
I didn't
Antifa.
see any
Yeah.
Democrats in there. I would hope, I saw Confederate flags as a black person, whether you're Democrat or Republican. When you see the Confederate flag, run. I live in Texas, and that is not a welcoming sight. And, they like the Confederate flag out here in Texas, and
And
it's
it's
scary.
and it's kind of funny because the Democrats they were on the side of the Confederate flag, but they tried to convince everybody that it
But
was
that had to be, that
Republican.
wasn't in my lifetime. That had to be, 60, 70 years ago or greater, because the Democratic Party, for as long as I know today, has flipped. So back then, the Republicans, they would have been considered like Democrats or vice versa. I looked into a lot of that. But today's society has changed, man. It's Democrats over here and Republicans over here. I would never represent the Confederacy. Not me.
Yeah, but neither would
Never.
any Republicans because they were the ones that freed the slaves, not the Democrats. And then even today in the 1960s, if you listen to any of Malcolm X's speeches, there were two splits. There was the Districts that were like hardcore, and then there were
Right.
like the Republicans, and then that led on into up until like the 2000, where I guess this guy who had died,
Right.
he was like the Grand Dragon, and both Obama and Joe Biden went to the funeral and eulogized him and said, how great of a guy he was when he was stone cold, a Klansman, till the day he died. So I know that we want to try to bring people in and accept them, but I don't know. I just
I
have
don't
a
know. I
problem with
mean,
those guys.
that's another thing. I don't know the relationship with that. That man made him. I would hope that he had a change of heart, but the Republican Party, as I know it today, and the Democratic Party, it is totally opposite. Like today, if you walk in this neighborhood and you're a Republican, you might lose your life because nobody out here is wearing a Confederate flag on their back.
Yeah, but are there Republicans coming into your neighborhood wearing Confederate flags?
They did when we were out here. When we were out here at the voting stand, all them people, it was on the news out here. They came in droves to the hood, messing with people, not letting
Yeah.
people vote. They had to call the police out here. It was
Now,
really bad, and they had Confederate flags on the side of a
you
truck.
know,
Sure did.
now that you're out there,
Oh.
you know what? Because I'm going to be going to Texas this weekend.
Okay.
I'm gonna be asking people the same question. I'm going to be going to oh, I forgot the name of the place, but anyway,
Where?
I can't remember. It's a really small place. I think it's like 60,000 people.
Oh,
Texarkana. Texarkana. I'm going.
Texarkana. That's far. Woo, you going
Yeah.
way? Wow.
Well, that's where a lot of my cousins are. They're located in that little area. They just got the McDonald's in 2010. So
Oh wow.
it's like so
Ah.
now they're big. They're going big time.
An interesting news is the Country Music
Oh
Association
God.
for their festival has gone ahead and they banned the Confederate flag. I do find it somewhat interesting because 40
The
years ago,
race car track did. Up here, they had Confederate flags everywhere up here at Texas Motor Speedway. And as a black person, I told this white guy, I said, y'all go have fun. I'm not going to Texas Motor Speedway and got flags in my face like that.
I need you to videotape that. I mean, now we everybody has access to video cameras. We need to show that, and then and then I have another friend. He's going down there, Reggie
You
Rocco.
should.
He's
Go
going
to
down.
Weatherford, Texas. Go to Weatherford. You'll see them everywhere. As soon as you drive into Weatherford, it says, "Welcome to Weatherford." And at the time, they had a big face of Donald Trump when you drive in there. And then when you go to the other direction, it's a Confederate flag on the back. Ooh.
We need to have videotape of that so we can show that because the fake news they'll lean it
We'll
so
have
far
to
over
do that.
too.
I'll have to see when I get around here, I'll send you some stuff because
Oh yeah,
even up the street where I live at, a dude was flying a Confederate flag over
yeah,
here, and in the neighborhood was booing him. Yes, over here where I
yeah.
stay.
And
The that I
huh?
find on this is 40 years ago. There was a series called Dukes of Hazard, and that show was centered around the South. It was centered
Sure
around
was. My
a
brother told me he didn't like the car. He liked the car, but the Confederate flag on there, we wasn't really jiving with that. I like the Dukes of Hazzard. I watched some of the old shows that they replayed,
yeah.
but that flag is just I don't know, man. The show is okay, but the flag is I don't know.
The idea being, and here's just something to think about, and then we'll move on to another topic. But the idea
Huh?
being, have we been sold a bill of goods? Did the Confederate flag mean something different 40 years ago than it now does in today's society? Certainly in today's society, that particular flag is banned in many places and
Right?
not looked highly upon. 40 years ago, that flag symbolized the idea that the South would rise again, and the idea that the system and Big Brother
Uh,
and this kind of thing was the enemy to be stood up to. And of course, that narrative had to change because we
right.
certainly don't want the American people realizing that we are the people, we have the power. And that idea is now so prevalent in our society that our ideas of what America
But you
is,
said we the people. Doesn't that only mean white people? Because back in those
no, it
days,
means
even
everybody.
black people weren't considered.
Well, no, it means everybody because that's what our
Okay.
founders and framers had visualized. Now, certainly there were some founders and framers and those that came along after that certainly wanted to keep the slave trade going,
Right. Exactly.
revolution. But for just as many people as wanted to keep the slave trade rolling, there were
Right.
plenty of abolitionists out there, and a lot of them came from the South. In fact, that's why in the
Oh.
Civil War, brother was against brother, and it wasn't just fighting between the South and the North, and it wasn't just a war of northern aggression, as it was sometimes referred to,
Right. Yeah.
but more. It was truly a brother against brother, brother against sister kind of thing, where one family member maybe didn't believe that slavery should be propagated,
Oh,
but then
okay. Okay.
in their household, their family members, even on the same side, had to be persuaded that slavery just isn't the way to go. Um,
It's
so
not
it
the
is.
way to go. I mean, I as a younger person, y'all are older than me. I don't know how old y'all are, but if y'all are in your 40s or whatever,
Right.
at the end of the
Right.
day, when you're my age and you can go to the internet, I don't know what it was like back then, and it may have been different for black people. But when I talk to people like my grandmother when she was alive and stuff like that, my grandmother was like, "No way, Jose." And my grandmother, was an older person and was even saying sundown towns. Like my grandmother had terms like "don't go to sundown towns." What's sundown towns? That means as a black person, you better not find your butt in that town before sundown. So
That's
all
right.
of these little terms and things like that, my grandmother didn't look at it as a Republican or Democratic thing. She said, I'm looking at it from a human perspective and a black perspective. And I think when people can set aside the parties and I'm a Democrat and I'm a Republican, let's just stop judging people based on their skin color and things like that and say, how can we come together to bridge the gap of races?
And
Not either.
Amen.
and
That's
then
what I believe because people want to talk about race theory. I told this lady, I don't know what all that is. I know that racism is not a theory. Racism happens and it has happened to me.
yeah. And
Sure.
we have to stop these policies. It's a lot of hurtful policies. At first,
Okay.
when Johnson started this welfare, or the not the welfare, but the government will be your daddy, and
No,
if
no.
if you have children, we'll pay for them, and just as long as you kick the man out of the house, the government will supply you with money, have as many babies as you can, we'll give you more money and more money. That really flipped the black family, because it was, before then it was 70% intact husband and wife families. When Johnson did that in 1965, it took a generation, and then it started to flip. And a friend of mine said, like, then you could start like in late 80s, early 90s, you can go to grave sites and you only see like a mother burial thing and then her children. And you say, well, where's the father? And it just flipped. And that policy successfully destroyed the black family unit. So policies are, and it was from a Democrat. And and you thought that if they would have seen that, because they saw it coming, they would have stopped it. But then they went even further. They said, let's further attack the black men. And so in 1994, Bill Clinton and Biden put forth a crime bill, 3 strikes you out, and then that further put a lot of black men in the prison who were trying to survive and feed their families.
Wow.
Maybe in a wrong way.
Because, like I said, I'm younger, and some of the bills that need to be redone or eliminated, I believe that. And I think even back then, some of the people who made those laws, there was crack, right? There was stuff going on. When you have to look at what was physically going on and why this stuff was created, because you had women also complaining, I'm not getting help from X, Y, and Z. So the government had to step in, or else we would have some kids or people just getting nothing. Can you imagine the government not helping somebody like me when I was on the streets homeless? I'm thankful for the government. I'm thankful for the laws that were created.
I gotta let you know, before the government got involved, it was families were intact, and when you went to school, you had a choice of going to trade school, and a lot of black men, they were bricklayers, they were house builders, they did construction, and they didn't need the government, because they had these jobs within the community. And then if you watch the movie Straight Outta Compton, when Eazy-E said that we don't have any passports to go to other countries and bring these drugs in, and the FBI and those guys were dropping drugs into the black community and guns, and instead of the community of these drug dealers taking these guns and drugs and taking it down to the Capitol in California and saying, hey, we don't want this stuff, they decided, well, we're going to make money off of this stuff, and they sold it not only to their community but other communities outside of that. Watch the movie Straight Outta Compton, and he'll talk about
cocaine. They even said that companies had something to do with cocaine. Like when you look up Coca-Cola and all this, they say that a lot of these companies had something to do with even the pushing of cocaine.
Yeah, back in the 20s and 30s, Coca-Cola had real cocaine in it. That's how they got their name. They had a measure of cocaine in it. And back in the day, giving your child.
They put street drugs.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
so,
before
there was no oversight. Nobody saying, hey, can you imagine somebody putting street drugs in your drink at Walmart? Oh my.
So this transitions into the next topic, which is you will own nothing and you will be happy. Why does it transition into this particular topic? Well, the idea being that things are getting more expensive to own, such as vehicles, especially electric vehicles. And so leasing is starting to become a really big thing, so that you can still afford your electric vehicle or your new appliances or some furniture or things like this. You can go ahead and either A, rent to own, B, lease an item and then give it back when you're done, or C, there are services out there that basically peddle these products and then advise that you give them back for credit towards another purchase. So I'm a guitar player. So for instance, if I were to want to go and purchase an amp, let's just say, I would go and I would lease my amplifier from whatever music store, and I could
Right.
use it for 3, 4 years. I would have insurance on it, so if a drink got spilled in there, I could get it replaced, things like this. But I don't own the thing. So in 4 years, let's say, when it comes due for me to go ahead and turn this in, I bring in the old amp, and I can trade that in for credit towards purchase of a new item. Now it's not mine; I'm still renting, but at least I get
Wow.
the access to the latest and greatest state of the art technological type stuff. This happens with
Okay.
computers. This happens with all kinds of stuff. Um,
Tablets, phones, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're,
oh yeah,
they're already doing that in Sweden. By the way, this
exactly.
is yeah, they're already doing this in Sweden. That's only nine
Oh,
million
wow.
people. Yeah, there's only 9 million people in Sweden. So they do everything electronic. There's no paper money at all. It's just like all electronics.
See, I
And
wouldn't want that kind of system because here in Texas, when the power went out, none of that will work. So if you have the power go down, you need to have money. You need to have access to cash. My grandmother always taught me that. So I would not go to that country because nope, I don't want to be stuck without money.
but it's only 9 million people, so it's not like the United States where 300 million people or several
Oh,
million
I'm
people.
finna
Yeah.
say, because what if they have a power outage? Then people can't buy groceries. I was in a grocery store and they had something happen to the machine and people couldn't scan cards. So people had to run over to the ATM to get money. Having cash is important. Having access to something that's tangible is important. And the reason I say this, a computer generated card, they'll give you these cards that are computer generated. Well, if the system crashes, now you just lost all that stuff for nothing. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
but the liberals and mostly the Democrats are trying to kind of force us into that by and by raising up gas prices, by raising up food prices, and these are all things that they were in full control over because when Biden went into office, he signed executive orders reversing everything that Trump had put in and we were at the time we were making $6,000 more. Now we're making out of that $6,000 more, we're making we're having like $5,000 more in taxes because of all the executive orders that they signed. Also, they put in this $4 trillion relief thing, which flooded the market with all this money. And so now that caused inflation because you put all this fake money into the system, and that caused inflation things. So the inflation is up at 10%, but our pay raise only went up to 9.6%.
Yeah, and that's not good enough. And that's why, I don't know, like I told somebody, whether that's a Democratic or Republican thing, that's an everybody thing because we all have to be concerned about inflation. We all have to eat. And so I think, too, that if America was not connected globally, I think we could control our marketplace. But the fact that the world is globally connected, we're affected. And that's what my grandma used to say. When you're connected, you're affected. And it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. This stuff affects everybody. And people on both sides can say, okay, let's find what we can compromise on. Because I know it, like if I was the president of America, we're finding compromises. We're finding what we can compromise on so we're not arguing, screaming, and yelling at one another. Because that's what I see on TV as a young person. And I don't blame, well, this person made the market crash because he was a Republican, or this person. I try to look at the logistical, mathematical reasons. And that is, we're just connected with too many things. And America is being pulled in every direction. And that means militarily. Why do we have to help out? I told somebody, stop helping. Why do we have to continue to help countries? Why do we have to send money to places that, it doesn't make sense? So that's the first thing America needs to do is to get back to helping our people, and maybe we won't have these problems with inflation.
Now now the Ukraine thing, I don't understand that because they're not a part of NATO. If you're part of
Yeah, I don't
NATO,
know.
we promised people that were involved with NATO that we would help them out if some other country tried to attack them. We would help them out. Ukraine is not a part of NATO, but in the when Biden was vice president, Hunter Biden and him went there and laundried a lot of money out of that country. And it's this video. I could pull it up and show you video of Biden
What
going
do
in.
you mean?
Okay,
Laundered money. That they said
okay,
when Donald Trump was in office, they were saying that in that country that he was trying to, hold equipment or some other things. But whether it's Donald Trump or what
okay,
have you,
okay. Let me let me
we
let
got
me
to stop giving money to
let me
countries,
say. Okay,
especially the fact
and
that they're not giving money to us.
when
That's the part I don't
when
get.
Biden was vice president, he went to the country. He had a huge check from Obama, the United States, to
Okay.
give to them, but because they were investigating his son for Hunter Biden for some illegal things that he was doing, sitting on boards and just getting money from the country. Biden said, if you don't stop investigating my son, I'm not going to give you this check. And they said, well, we'll go ask, we'll go tell Obama. He says, go tell him, I'm instructed not to give you this check unless you
Wow.
stop investigating my son. And it's a video of him himself saying it, bragging about, and it said, in 6 hours, they stopped investigating. I gave them the check, and and that was it. But
Wow.
so the
I'll
video's
have
out
to look
there.
more into that because I know I don't. I mean, when it
I'll
comes to
I'll send you the
Democrats and
video.
Republicans,
I'll send you the video
yeah, because
because
wow.
people don't believe this stuff, and so
I'll,
that's why this Russia. Hillary Clinton put that false dossier to keep like Trump is colluding with Putin and all that kind of stuff, and Russia. Now we find out that it was a false dossier. It was something that was paid for by the Hillary Clinton
but physically,
organization.
did you ever see Donald Trump's reactions to? He would always kind of, hold Putin. Meaning, he was a little bit more friendlier with Putin than other people and some of the other dictators that was over here. He wanted to meet somebody in Korea, some dictator. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. He went over there and he negotiated with these people. I mean,
That's crazy.
Putin didn't go to war, didn't try to go over the Ukraine while he was in office. As soon as Biden came in, and they saw when they really did it backwards, getting the people out of Afghanistan. As soon as he saw how weak that was, Biden didn't even call the other countries that were involved with us as partners. He didn't even call them and
Wow.
say, "Hey, we're just going to pull out our military, and we're going to go back and see if we can try to get our people out of there." It should have been people first, because Trump had already set up the plan. You get the people out first, then you get the equipment out or destroy the equipment, then you get the military out. Biden did the totally opposite and didn't even inform the other countries that he was going to do that. Now he's kind of blame Putin for our high gas prices. He's kind of blame Putin for our high food prices.
But in some
When it was
ways, Putin has so much control over. He shut off a pipeline to a country, and they're like, "Wait a minute, we paid y'all for the gas. This is how This is why Putin, for me, is horrible. He
okay,
shuts off the gas to a country that already paid for it."
okay. Now let's talk about that. Biden, his first week in office, he signed an executive orders to kill 50,000 American jobs to the Exxon pipeline, destroying lives and jobs of Americans here. And then he opened up this pipeline too, that was Russian flowing gas and oil from Russia to Germany.
Yes.
He opened that up and destroyed 50,000 of our jobs to open up this Russian line. That's
Well,
what
I
Biden
just know
did
that
the first week
I
he was
just
But
in office.
then that could come back someday and bite us. We need to try to see a portfolio of options.
It's
So I
biting us
believe they
now.
should get that other line back open, right? So you have a option. That's just my opinion.
right,
It's coming back to bite us now because we
right.
have high guy prices because of
Well,
what
it's double what
Biden
they
did.
were. It's double what they were a year and a half, 2 years ago. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was $1.87 when Biden took office, now it's 450, and in California is 697 because
Well,
The most
what
hopefully
he
they
did.
make
expensive,
moves to get it down. Because if they don't, I don't care who you are. If you can't get these prices down on food, if you can't get these prices down on the basic necessities that people have to buy every day, you won't be in office for very long because
Well,
the public's hurting. And whether you're
yes,
Democrat or Republican, the Main Street, I tell you, people in Main Street, they're like, man, we don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, just help us. And I think that's
well,
when you talk to everyday
uh,
people,
yeah,
they're
but
hurting, brothers.
yeah,
They're hurting.
but Biden doesn't care because he signed to kill 50,000 of our jobs and then opened the pipeline for Russia to have their pipeline. So who does he care about? Does he care more about Putin's pipeline or does he care more about American pipeline? Because he destroyed 50,000 jobs in America and our pipeline, but he opened up the pipeline to Russia to send to Germany and other countries.
I
So,
tell you, Johnny, I'm not the greatest of dot connectors, but I look at it this way: we got an open border. Those
oh
folks
yeah,
are
About
able
what?
to.
we have an open
We have
border.
an open border.
Okay.
Those folks are able to come in, and they are given the right to vote when they obtain their driver's licenses.
Hmm.
This will indeed have an effect on the midterms as well as the elections in
Wow.
2024.
And given a new
Obvi- Go ahead.
iPhone as well. Given a new
Well,
iPhone as
Texas
well.
is not, the state of Texas said that they're not just letting people. I don't know about other states, but I can speak for the governor here in Texas. They set up blockades and stuff here. So the actual border over here, it's not open. So
Well,
Well, and I do know this as well. I know that however these folks are getting in, they're getting in. And I do
they're
know
getting in
that
somehow because it ain't over here.
I do know that we're a kind, we're a generous people. And I do
Okay.
know that our gas prices have doubled since our most
Biden,
popularly elected president has taken office. I also know that our 2A rights are being threatened, all while we are sending weapons over to the Ukrainian citizens and
yeah.
allegedly arming them while taking
Well,
our
because they
arm.
said people got killed at that school. The guy here, the governor said here in Texas that he wasn't taking away no gun rights here in Texas. You know what I mean? He said that we have to find ways of securing stuff. And like when I was in school, they always did door checks because our school sat on the highway off 35, off 35 in Ellis County.
Sure.
They didn't want anybody just coming into our school. So that was different. But when you deal with the stuff that we have going on, and it seems like to me, it doesn't matter what laws are passed about guns. We have more guns in this country than we have people. And if you're able to traffic people, cocaine, and drugs, you're able to, because see, criminals don't follow laws. I told somebody, it doesn't matter what law is passed.
That's
Criminals
absolutely
could care less. That's why you got, like in Chicago, the gangs and all that, they got guns.
Yeah.
But your average citizens in New York or stuff like that don't got guns, but the gangs do. Because the gangs, what? They don't follow the law, guys. So we all have to rethink how we're going to not only protect ourselves, raise that age for guns. I believe that 21, not take it away if you don't have to, but raise it, right? And I think there should be some kind of competency test. You shouldn't have
Now-
to get a gun and you don't have, your brains or your faculties are not right. That's a problem.
Now there is one final point that I want to make.
Mhm.
Our food supply is being systematically targeted, in my opinion. I reference the burning down of chicken factories, eggs, that. I reference the.
You said burning? Why would somebody, you said burn chickens? Why would somebody do that?
The plants they just caught on fire. A lot of these food plants
magically catch on fire for no reason whatsoever. Just, oh gosh, there's been food plant disasters that have taken place over the last month. Just look for them on Google. You'll see all kinds of crazy, weird stuff centered around food. Now,
They need to be fired if people up there. I know when I was working at a place, somebody threw a cigarette in a trash can. And so you never know what's happening. But like I tell people, it's sad because I told that person a cigarette and almost burned down the entire place. And that's why it's a sad shame, because when it comes to a food supply thing or other issues, we got to get this stuff under control and those type of things, because with the food, yeah, I'm scared. Absolutely.
Well, and I do know this. It takes 3 days to 10 days for the human psyche to really start shifting. Once you start getting hungry, once you start being unable to think clearly, things start shifting for you. So, absolutely. Do they want to take away those 2A rights by and large from the American citizen? Because once this food shortage does start being felt in early July, mid July,
Wow.
there's also power plants that are being systematically shut down. So we are going to be forced to endure.
They just said here in Texas, they just said today, they just said on the news, they told people to conserve power in our state.
That's right.
So
That's right.
that's an issue for a state like Texas to have. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. And I told somebody, how can you not keep the lights on? We're talking about summertime, and y'all telling us, oh, turn this thing up to 78.
Yeah, because they want to.
I'm not doing that.
They want to.
No.
Yeah, they want to kill all the fossil fuel and then go to this electric gateway and windmills, and that we just don't have the infrastructure to translate over to that today, and they want it right now.
Not right now. I mean, where are you going to charge it? My friend got a car, and she was like, "Oh my God, I have no way to charge this car," and she said she had to have the car towed back to the place because they had no way to charge the car.
Yeah, so the infrastructure is not there, and they're not even looking, because they did pass this infrastructure bill, and only 10% of it went towards infrastructure. The rest of it went towards crazy stuff.
Yeah,
so they're not
engineering this kind of.
So this
we in trouble if we don't get our act together. And I hold my head down like that, because if we don't get it together, we are going to have problems. I did tell somebody, they said some problems lead to violence, because people, when they don't have anything, sometimes they turn to other alternatives that may not be so wholesome, if you know what I mean. So we have to make sure that we keep a robust society, and that we can cut down on a lot of the problems that we have by giving people access to capital, money, and see, look, rich people never complain about not having. It's poor people who complain about not having. But if you can teach a man how to fish and take care of himself, then you won't have all these crime issues. You won't have these problems.
We need people like you, and I'm running to run for local, because that's where it starts. It starts state by state, and then we can affect the national. I'm running for House District 5 here in Colorado. If you can go to Johnnie J for Colorado, housedistrict5.com. And my voting thing would be up on the 28th. You can vote early or vote on that day. And I'm
even in Texas?
No, well,
you can.
This is just for Colorado, for Denver.
Okay. I was gonna say, man, because you a cool person, and I was gonna say, hey, because you cool, you awesome.
But if you want to support Johnny Johnson and his run for House District number 5 in Denver, Colorado, you can hit us up at paypal.me/IntervisionDenver. That helps us to keep the lights on here, and of course, indirectly, it will help to facilitate Johnny being able to buy food so that he can actually run. Now, there are some different things that have to be kept separate with regard to donations to his campaign fund and that kind of thing, Hatch Act laws and that kind of thing. But if you want to help support the station, hit us up at paypal.me/IntervisionDenver, and just leave any amount that you feel led to go ahead and do. Now, in addition to operating this internet radio platform to help help support grassroots musicians and recording artists and things like this, whether they be financially or otherwise disabled.
Yeah.
But so in addition to all that, we're just trying to just trying to bring a little bit of um,
Hope.
knowledge to the community, as it were.
Hope. Yeah, and we'll leave your comments down there, whether you agree or disagree. We want to hear from you. And like I said, we'll check over those things. And it might take us 24 hours to get back with you because, we're a bunch of blind guys. And sometimes these internet things are not so accessible, these platforms.
No.
Because I saw one, this guy, he wanted to send his music over, and shoot, he sent it in April, and I just now saw it because I've got to get through all these different levels of responses and stuff. So I'm trying to get more on that, and then because my wife says, "You stop living your life on the internet." I say, "Hey, I got to answer some questions here."
Right.
So
Theological Society was supposed to make things easier. But if you want to learn more about voting integrity, hit www.useip.org. That tells a little bit about what we are running up against with regard to voter integrity. In addition, 2,000 jackasses is getting quite a bit of notoriety. And stay tuned. There's lots of other stuff that's coming out that will shed some light on our electoral process.
Yeah, so I'm going to Texarkana this weekend, and I'm going to definitely talk to I have a cousin down there. He's a pastor down there, so I'm going to get some video and hopefully
That'd be awesome.
Now I have I'm back in America and I have the bandwidth, I can click and show videos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, why don't they have the bandwidth? You would think in some of these countries they'd be able to have the actual, like, I don't know, stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, it is what it is. I don't know. Maybe if I would have had a regular desktop, I would have got that. But I had my little laptop computer, which is it was what it was. And I couldn't do as many versatile things as I could do now. So it's all good. So
I'm proud of you, dude. I'm proud of both y'all. I want y'all to know that, man. I like coming here. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, it's always good to get people's opinions.
Thank you, Ashton.
And that's what it's about with this station. And that's why I show up when I can, where I can, because I appreciate being here. And, I know people listen to you. They're like, well, that sounds like a Republican station. Well, that's because it is, even though I am not Republican. I just know that I like listening to the opinions of y'all, because you can take a little bit from the Republicans and a little bit from the Democrats. And what do you get it when you smush it together? A different party. So you get something.
And the majority
from everybody. And that's why I come here to understand the Republican side of things without people yelling, screaming at me, and those type of things. Y'all are very professional and keep up the great work. Your audience, man, tell them to get my book, man, Swimming Upstream to Realize the Dream, right? They might realize their dreams. Amen. Y'all be blessed.
All right. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend. And do
and go swimming. The pool's open. There's a bunch of food downstairs. Y'all have a good time and go jump in the pool today. Temperatures today in Dallas, Fort Worth, 95 degrees, nice wind. Wow. We feel good today. Go on down and have fun, y'all.
Oh,